welcome you all to this leadership conversation that we will be having with our esteemed guest, Ms. Sreelekha, this evening. Before we get started and engage ourselves in this really power-packed conversation, let me take a few moments to introduce to you all the Ashank Desai Centre for Leadership and Organisation Development. The Ashank Desai Centre for Leadership and Organisation Development was inaugurated on June 18, 2021, and is one of its kind centre that has been established with a vision to create a platform for dialogue and discussion around various themes of leadership in India. The centre benefits from IIMA's faculty members who come from diverse disciplines and are exploring leadership as well as organizational development themes through research, consulting, and training. The centre has identified for itself themes of impact leadership, mental health and well-being, public sector leadership, inclusion and diversity, and leadership for knowledge-based organization as its core focus areas. The aim of the centre is to act as a platform where faculty, students, and professionals from governmental, non-governmental, and private organizations can come together to initiate dialogue and co-create distinctive and high-quality leadership discourse. As a part of centre's activities, we have conceptualized Leadership Conversation series with the aim to host individuals who have had exemplary record of leading and creating impact in organizations. This conversation series is a platform through which we aim to raise consciousness about critical topics related to leadership and organization development, and also co-think about plausible solutions. Our hope and effort is to continue to invite eminent individuals onto this platform so that they may share their knowledge and experiences with us and enlighten us with their wisdom. We are extremely excited about this initiative and hope that this conversation series can become one of its kind source of ideas and insights to solve problems being faced by leaders and management of organizations. It is under this series that we have planned today's conversation, and it is a pleasure and honor to have with us Mrs. R. Sreelekha, who is our guest for today's conversation. Let me introduce Sreelekha to all of you. R. Sreelekha is the first woman IPS officer in the state of Kerala, a published author with 10 books to her credit, and now a successful YouTuber. She has worked in various law and order positions, police administration, anti-corruption branches, including CBI. She has headed the intelligence wing, crime branch, Kerala prisons, 7 fire and rescue services. She also headed 3 PSUs during her career, stretching 33 years and 5 months. She has been awarded the Police Medal for Meritorious Service, President's Medal for Distinguished Services, and State Government's Meritorious Services Award, other than awards from various NGOs and private institutions. She is a Chevening Fellow and has done her fellowship at King's College, UK on road safety. She writes regular columns in various magazines now, and at present is a member of International Prison World, National Human Rights and Humanitarian Federation, India, and Committee on Prevention of Suicide of Children in Kerala. It is a pleasure to have you with us, Sreelekha. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and agreeing to come and be a part of today's evening conversation. I invite you to share your opening remarks on this very important, and I would also say timely, topic of upholding values in public service. Over to you, Sreelekha.
Thank you, Professor Vishal. It's great to be here to address all of you regarding a very pertinent topic. This subject itself has got two components. It is public service and values. So values are those which are intrinsic to the service and to your personal self, and it is, what are the values? They are integrity, openness, and then impartiality, maintaining a transparency, professionalism, all sorts of things, that values, we know what they are. But public service, there is a common misconception that it involves only government service. It's not so. All sorts of services to the public are public service as far as I am concerned. I am somebody who had jumped jobs during the 3 years from my age of 23 to 26. My childhood ambition was to become a college professor, and I became a college professor at the age of 23, immediately after completing my post-graduation. And this was because I am somebody who had no role models in my life. I lost my father when I was 16, and he was my role model till then. And I wanted to become like my father, a college professor. So my aim was to become a college professor. But once I became that, I realized that there is something more in store for me. So I started aiming for more. And when I was joining for MPhil course to do my PG doctorate after that, some of the teachers told me that you have a civil service material in you, why don't you try the IAS exam? And that gave me the impetus to write the civil services exam. But I became an RBI grade B officer in between while writing all the exams. The motive was the motive for leaving my job of a college professor and go to RBI was purely financial, because the salary I was getting was abysmal as a lecturer in a college. So RBI, I was getting a lot of money, but then there was no satisfaction because I hated mathematics and I could not work as a statistical officer in Mumbai Reserve Bank. So that was a traumatic experience for me. So I was again writing civil services examination, and in my second attempt actually, I got through the civil services exam, and like I wanted, I didn't get the IAS post. I lost IAS by 7 marks and got into IPS, which was a very bad feeling for me at that time. I remember crying, seeing my tears were coming out of my eyes, seeing the newspaper that I did not get the rank high enough to get into IAS. I lost IAS by 7 marks and I was so depressed. But looking back, I think that this is much better because police had been a much better public service. And only one thing I want to stress at this particular moment is that everywhere I have worked, it is public service, and in police department and also outside the police department. Whatever I have been doing as a person, like writing articles and entertaining people, educating people, that is also some kind of a public service. Working in PSUs, CEOs, as CEO of some public sector undertakings, that is a much greater public service than what I was doing in police. Sometimes I feel that it was. So whatever, if you feed a hungry dog on the street, that is a public service, because the public includes not only the people around you, but the entire ecosystem, the entire macrocosm, the universe that is there around you. The vegetation, the trees, watering a dying plant is also public service. And the lesson I have learned over the course of years is that when you look into the need of the public, you should not confuse between what you assume as their need and what their real need is. One good way to connect with your passion and your service, that is, you are passionate about serving the people, but you don't know what they want. So first you will have to understand what is the requirement of the people, and then give that to the people, and that will be the best service. Most often I see that in the government sector and also in the other private sectors, there is a tendency by the organization to assume that doing this and this for the people, for the public, and as a service will be better. And according to the thoughts of the MD or the CEO or the chairman of the organization, they think that, okay, let us have a better transportation system, let us introduce some sort of a boat in the waterlogged area. But the people may not be requiring boat, they may be wanting a bridge to connect them from the one land to the other. But we don't discuss that with the people, we don't go in an inclusive sort of a way to bring about the service. So that lack of inclusivity is something which I have learned in a very hard way over my course of service. And to the youngsters, I'd like to say that the greatest service is connecting with your passion, your passion with the need of the people, what is required by the public, what is required by the society, what is required by the environment around you. Connect with that, and then your service becomes much more meaningful, much more effective, and much more efficient, and everybody will appreciate it more. It will give you more satisfaction. So that, with those words as an introduction, I'd like to stop here because we have a very comprehensive set of questions coming up. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sreelekha. I'd like to open this conversation by asking you a question about something you have addressed quite extensively in your media appearances, which is the resistance you faced initially when you joined the largely male police force as a woman police officer. Now, we normally talk about resistance to change or resistance to new ideas, but this was a different kind of resistance. This was resistance against your identity, and there is very little you can do to alter or modify. So how does one overcome that kind of resistance? What did you do? And looking back, do you think there is something you should probably have done differently?
Yeah, thanks, Arun. A very relevant, pertinent question. Gender-based resistance is something which people cannot tolerate. The police department has been and continues to be a very masculine, patriarchal sort of a force. Their entire setup is like that. The behavior, their attitude, the demeanor, the uniform, everything is masculine. So suppose even now, if you ask a child to describe a police officer, then do you think that they'll be describing a feminine face with long hair and curvaceous figure? They won't. They'll be describing only somebody with probably a huge mustache, red eyes, and then bulging tummy, probably. I don't know. But that is the concept of a police in the mind of a child. So it is a masculine sort of a force, and in that masculine force where things were going according to the patriarchy, that model of patriarchy, when a woman suddenly goes into a senior position, in a top position, then it confuses them. They don't know what to do with that lady. So I can understand what Kiran Bedi madam had gone through when she became the first lady officer in the entire country. But in my case, it was hardly any different. I had to face a lot of issues. There was a lot of sarcasm from senior officers. I was sidelined. Some jobs, it was not given to me, saying that, oh, you cannot do that. It's such a tough job. You can't do that. So that sort of an attitude. And then some of the junior officers not knowing what to address you as, because they are used to calling senior officers as sir. So they don't want to call you sir because you are a woman, and they don't know whether a woman can be addressed as madam or not. So they don't address you as anything, which is the height of sort of an indiscipline. You feel bad when you talk to such officers. And then, the feeling of camaraderie or brotherhood, that comes when you sit together and chat. Once a case is detected, you touch a person by the shoulder and say, well done. Or you catch hold of his hand and shake it and say, oh, you've done a wonderful job. But as a lady officer, if I do this, then it will be misconstrued as, oh, she goes around touching all the males. So that's when senior officers also, they come around shake handing everybody, and when he comes in front of me, he'll say Namaste ji. That used to upset me a lot. I used to wonder, why couldn't he give shake hand to me also? Does he think that I'll be offended? So that sort of attitude, it was prevalent, and I have given a TED talk also about that. Probably you can watch. But how to overcome is it? First thing is that you will have to make your mind stronger, saying that these people are ignorant. That is why it is not because of anything, any mistake on your part. The mistake is entirely with them and with the system. It is a new thing. They don't know what to do with it. They are confused. So give them time, and over a course of period, you adjust with that, and then whenever a senior officer comes and addresses the group as gentlemen, that is a common thing in the force, because all are men, so they call you gentlemen, and then I raise my hand to show that a lady is also sitting there. Occasionally, I very strenuously I keep doing this every time, saying that there is a lady also present in the group. When retired officers also, when they come and say that I'm happy to see all my brothers, I said yes, and sister too. My sister is also sitting here, sir. So that sort of a reminder is required on a continuous basis to make them know that yes, this is a for gender neutral force, and a lady is here to make a difference. So that sort of an attitude has created some effort, and ripples also, yes, but effect also it has come in the long run. Immediate junior girl is also there in the service, and with now present, the influx of many ladies into the force, things have really changed for the better.
So if I can do a follow up on Arun's question, Sreelekha, you mentioned a very pertinent point, and actually there is quite a bit of research today on gender and leadership, which talks about uh, the kind of perceptions employees have towards female leaders and female bosses. So we understand that there is this challenge that women officers and women leaders have to face. You also mentioned about a strong mind. I want you to elaborate more on that and tell us a little more on what for you were some facilitators that enabled this kind of successful career that you had. What were those facilitators both on the external, that means in the professional around, and also in your family or so for female audience who are listening to us today, what are some of those facilitators that one can bank upon for this kind of journey?
The first thing is the society welcomed me with open hands. The department was a little hesitant, but the society was extremely excited to welcome me with open hands. I got a lot of media publicity, and that has helped also, because the media kept on promoting me. Wherever I go, they'll say the first lady officer is doing this, the first lady officer is doing that. And then I made it a point, whenever I was invited for public functions, I would go to the public function, address the students, address education institutions, address people's groups, and then explain that this is whatever I wanted to explain, then I will be doing that in the public forum, so that it will spread, it will come to the department also, and then the department was also understanding in the long run. Ultimately they would also understand. That was one external factor which has helped me. It facilitated me to succeed, the media support and the public support. And department also, yes, not all officers were against me or confused, as I said. Some senior officers were. In fact, the first DGP who I ever worked under when I went into the service in Kerala, he had remarked in an open conference that a lady is coming to pollute our department, which was a shock to me. But some officers who were listening to that comment by that DGP were flabbergasted. So they told me later on that it was very unfortunate that the DGP himself should say that. And they ultimately turned out to be my mentors and my advisors and my philosophers in my career. So I had a lot of senior officers who were supporting me, and they gave me a lot of good advices on how to behave, how to ignore certain things, and how to react to certain comments and all that. That was a very good facilitator. And the third thing was that the support that I received from my family, which was internal, like you said, like family. I married my childhood friend. That was a very fortunate thing. And he knew even before I got into the service what sort of a person I was. So he was totally understanding. And our relationship, marriage relationship, it was whatever problems I faced in my professional front, I could discuss with him, and he would give me a lot of support and assistance and advice also. And he was with me through and through. Even during night time, if I had to rush to some place, then he would be totally supporting me. I told you I lost my father when I was very young. So my mother was a staunch. Even now she's there with me. She's a very strong supporter of whatever I do. So she was there as a strong pillar of support for me. Then your internal and intrinsic values, whatever the values that you have inculcated as a youngster, that always helps. So that intrinsic feelings, your emotions, your values, your core ideas, and in a certain way spirituality also. I've always been spiritual, a firm believer of God. So spirituality also helps a lot in scaling through all difficulties, in whenever hurdles and whenever challenges come, you find that it is easy to cross over all that if you have those beliefs and your faith.
So Sreelekha, you spoke initially about how the media and the public were a source of support for you. Now, this can sometimes be like a double-edged sword for government departments that also have to engage in a lot of reputation management, and more so perhaps for the police force, where the public perception can be very polarized at times. So how has your experience been with reputation management of the entire department or the organizations that you've headed? And perhaps it also may have changed dramatically with the social media, where things can get out of hand very quickly. So what have your learnings been, and what have your insights been through this journey of reputation management?
Yeah, it's absolutely right. Publicity is a double-edged sword. The thing is that you cannot afford to have publicity for yourself. That was one mistake I committed in the early phases of my career. The publicity will have to be for the department and the organization that you work for. When you do something good, then make sure. I learned it in a very tough way later on, because there were enemies within the department which were quite worrisome for me, cumbersome for me. So those enemies within the department hated to see my face on the media, on a platform, on the mainstream media. If my face comes on the mainstream media, then some action will be taken by some people to see that a damaging sort of a report comes against me in the next day or the coming days. So they'll cook up all sorts of stories, and they used to really damage my reputation a lot in the mid-career phase. But then I understood that whatever you project for the department and for the organization you work for, that always gets a positive impact. So later on I learned that when you get a media publicity, you will have to go to the background and then push somebody forward who will be a representative for the department itself, a PR person or maybe some other officer, and then you be in the crowd. You can be along with that person also, because sometimes questions can be specifically asked to you also. So you can be, but then the entire department will have to be projected as the organization which has done the good service, like catching a criminal. If you have caught a criminal who has been absconding for a long time, then you project it as a departmental great thing. The department has caught the people, the police officers together have done that, and that the teamwork has succeeded. So the teamwork and making other people also getting involved in it, that creates a lot of impact. So that way you can wipe out the negativity in media publicity, and also the senior officers and the government will also be happy, because you will be always talking about the department and not about your whatever personal thing that you have done. So during the first 10 years of my career, probably I was too publicity crazy, I suppose. But later on, I negated that to the background. I was crawling under the carpet and trying to project the department. And now the police department also understands that this is a great thing to do. You are serving a department, you serve the department, and the government means that whatever good thing you have done, you project it as in its entirety as something that the department has done. The officers together have done as a teamwork. So that always carries a very good impact on the media and the social media. But negative comments and negative reports will be there. And I have not seen any people in the public reacting against me. I have not seen anybody in the public or anybody whom I have served reacting against me in the media, or even media persons doing some bad things against me. I have always found that it is somebody within the department who are inimical to me, because the department itself is police department itself is a very sort of a competitive sort of a department. Competition is very high in this department. People want certain things for themselves, so they don't like one particular person getting above other. So within the department itself there are problems. So they create some news and then they try to project you in a bad light. But that is okay. I have learned to tolerate that. I live with that now.
There's an associated question I had. So the second part of my question was more about the public perception also. So sometimes even without a trigger or any stimulus from your side or from the department side, public perception can go out of control. The way they perceive your actions or the way they perceive the police department. So as a leader, have you had to proactively control or manage public perception? And how did you go about doing that?
I can give you an example where there is a festival, it's called the Women's Shabarimala in Trivandrum. You know, the Attikal temple is there, where every year the ladies go. It is the season now, you know, it is supposed to be there in within a week now in Trivandrum. Attikal Pongala is where the ladies, all the ladies go and put a, do a puja for that deity there who is a goddess. So it is all men are not allowed to do that puja, only women are allowed to do that puja. In that particular, I have been participating as a believer of that temple for a long time. Ever since my childhood, I have been participating in that puja and doing this Pongala, which is a prasad which you do at the temple premises. But 2-3 years back, I came to know that along with that, there is a sort of a horrendous atrocity against children which is happening. Some little boys below the age of 12 will be brought there, and then they'll be made to bleed there. You know, they are called the soldiers of the goddess, and it's a sort of a thing that the families of the children, the parents of the children, they make a wish that if my child gets out of this illness, or if he studies well, then I'll put him through this process, this puja for a week and all that. So that 1 week puja that the child goes through, I knew that this was happening in the temple during the festival season. That particular time I found out that it was a child right violation. They are doing a crime. The temple is doing a crime by piercing each child with a needle and seeing that the child bleeds. And the yelling and the crying of the children are drowned in the huge drums and the noises that the temple authorities make. And for each child they take 1,500 rupees, and despite that they hurt the children. So the children will be made to go through a 1 week of penance, like they are made to sleep on the floor. They can't wear anything other than a small dhoti, and then they'll have to wake up at 5 o'clock and then do 1,500 the prostrations before the goddess. All sorts of horrendous things are there, but that is okay. But piercing them with a needle and seeing that they are bled, which goddess needs blood? So that I had resisted, and I said that the temple authorities should stop it, because there's a High Court order stopping a similar practice in another temple. So on the basis of that, this should be stopped. And when I wrote that, first of all, I wrote a letter to the government. I wrote a letter to the DGP saying that a case should be registered, because I saw that with my own eyes what is happening. Some children fainting, some being taken to the hospital, and one doctor saying that every year it is happening. I can't speak against that because it's a religious thing. So he is scared to speak. And so I gave a letter, and then I gave a letter to the DGP, and I also came out in public when there was no response from the government and the DGP. I wrote a Facebook post saying that this is an atrocious thing that is happening on the name of a faith, a religion. The children are being harassed, and it's a child right violation. I also wrote a letter to the Child Commission for Children. There's a Child Rights Commission in Kerala. They have also not taken any action. Ultimately, there was a huge public outrage against me by a certain particular party people. A huge public outrage against me. They were coming on the TV and talking about that, saying that when Sreelekha was a little child, her mother had pierced my ears. So a case should be registered against the mother for doing that, because that is also piercing child. So all sorts of stories were spread against me and my family. Ultimately, I don't know what happened from that, but that was a negative publicity I faced from the public and the social media, because of something I said, which was, according to my conscience, it is still right. I don't regret saying that. Even now, I feel that it should be stopped. still it's going on.
Situations like these actually, and that was one of the questions I wanted to ask. We are talking about upholding values in public service. So can you tell us in your long career in civil service, uh, what are some of those values that you think are extremely critical for public service, for civil service, that uh, are timeless or that need to be upheld in a public service? And then I'll have a follow-up question on uh, how things have progressed. But uh, what are those important values that you would want to prescribe to young audience who are thinking of taking up public service? In your mind, what are those important uh, things?
Yeah, first and foremost, it is honesty. It is your integrity. You have to be honest, and you cannot be corrupt. If you are, if you think that there is no difference between government money and your money, and if you pilfer government money into your pocket, then that is a very bad thing to do for a public servant. It's not correct. Also, the government service is such that if you have a political hold, then you can be corrupt. In fact, I have come across a chief minister who had supported corrupt officers, saying that I can tolerate corrupt provided that he is smart and obedient. In an open conference of police officers, this particular chief minister said that, okay, he's corrupt, so what? He is very smart. He does whatever I ask him to do, and he is very obedient to whatever I say. So I shut my eyes to corruption. If CM can think like that and he can say like that in an open conference, then all officers will think that, okay, to get into the good books of the CM, I should be corrupt. So that sort of the boss who thinks that it is okay, it ruins the entire department. So despite that, I have always tried to be honest and maintain my integrity, and always felt like, this corrupt officers are very bad. And I always openly also told people that such person, such and such person is corrupt. So beware of them, because it is the public money that they are pilfering. Second thing that you have to be careful about, the second value of a public servant is sincerity. You should not do anything that is against your conscience. Whatever you feel is your conscience, you should stick to that. It does not hurt your conscience. Like a law enforcing officer may be thinking that, by the book of the law, whatever the law is written down, then I'll follow that. But there is a difference between law and justice. When you are following law to the book, you may not be delivering justice to the deserving people, and it may hurt you. After you finish the case and see that the accused is punished, you will not get satisfaction out of that. It will torment you. It will haunt you, because you have done a lawful thing, but you have neglected justice. So what is justice? It is something which is it's a win-win situation for everybody. So it is not hurting anybody. So you will have to examine yourself, your mind, you think about it and see that as a public service servant, you have, while implementing certain things, you have not hurt people, and you have acted in utmost sincerity. That sincerity matters a lot, because ultimately it is not your position or your social status or the salary that is important. It is your peace of mind that is important. So if you can give up your peace of mind for the sake of your popularity, then your social standing, then it doesn't serve any purpose. Sickness will come after you. You will get all sorts of illnesses in a very early age in your life. So be sincere, be honest, and also the second thing is that be as transparent as you can, because you can't hide. Once you become a public servant, you are a private property, public property. Okay, the private life is not there. So your public life and your private life should be as transparent as possible. You cannot do anything on the sly. People have a right to know. The people who you serve have a right to know what it is that you are doing. So if you are transparent, then you can do that. And always have eyes of kindness. This is something, again, I say that you be kind to people, you be kind to others. You be kind to your colleagues, you be kind to your subordinates. Because when you are in a tension-filled atmosphere, law and order situations can be full of tension. A crime situation can be full of tension. A threat to national security can be full of stress and tension. And in that particular condition, I have seen senior officers shouting at junior officers unnecessarily and throwing abuses at junior officers without having any thought about what he is saying. So that all makes a difference in the mind of the subordinate, and they don't feel like obeying. Or they may obey apparently, but in their hearts they will be cursing you. So that kindness is very important. You think of for the others also. In a tensed situation or in a stressed situation also, you will have to think what others are going through and then speak words with care so that you don't hurt anybody unnecessarily. So that kindness in public service, it matters a lot, not just to the people whom you serve, but to the officers who work with you, to your colleagues and to your subordinates. These three are the main factors.
Interesting that being a police officer, you talk about kindness and also another very, very striking thing that I noticed was the difference between, you talk about the difference between law and justice. So even though you do something which is lawful, it may not give justice. So as I see, these are issues that can actually lead to dilemmas. How do you, so while on one hand you are actually tasked to implement law, but if I do this, it may not lead to the right, it may not be just, or so there are these, if I be kind, people may take it as a weakness, or people may look at me as a different kind of person. So my first question here is, as an officer, as a professional, how do you overcome these dilemmas, especially the one on law and justice? Can you talk a little bit more on this this issue? If it is okay, give us an example to maybe illustrate.
It's fine, Professor Vishal. I understand your question perfectly well. In fact, the people thought that a woman coming into the police department in the senior position was the biggest dilemma ever. They were proven wrong. Okay, so dilemmas are something that people, it's a perception of some people. It is subjective. They think that police department, officers in police department should be rough and tough and very harsh. And only then they'll be able to deliver the services better. They can't smile. They can't afford to be kind. They have to be cruel. They have to be harsh. Who says all this? The motto of IPS Kerala, I don't know whether in Kerala, but everywhere else it is, the police IPS motto is Mrudu Bhave Dridha Kritye. That is, in your appearance you will have to be soft, but in your deed you will have to be firm. So that motto I have tried to follow throughout in my career. I can never be harsh unless it is absolutely needed. When you see absolute horrible things being committed by somebody, then you have to put them in their place and you be harsh. Like I see on the road some man beating up his wife in public, and all the public people are looking and cheering. That is something that is atrocious. So I have seen that. I was traveling, going from one place to the other, and there was a huge crowd on one side of the road. I stopped the car to see what was happening, and I saw a drunken man beating up his wife. The wife was carrying a small child also, and the people were crowding around cheering that man and seeing the whole show. What sort of public is this? So at that time you lose your temper, and then you take your lathi and then beat that person in public, and then also say that you should, I shouted at the people also, saying that what sort of drama are you watching? Disperse, go away immediately. So I lathied some of them also to disperse them around, and so that the child and the woman can be protected. So that sort of when such sort of things come, then I am not a very mild and kind person. I had to, especially in uniform, then I'll have to see that justice is done. Similarly, if a subordinate is very, very insubordinate, I put my foot down and be very harsh and firm to him. So that stick will have to be used when it needs to be used. It's not always carrot. But this justice and law, that has brought some problems to me, because I always have acted according to my conscience. And even when there is a court order, high court order saying that a fence should not be demolished, I had demolished a fence and I had faced contempt of court just to facilitate a woman to enter into her house. A lady came to me saying that she could not enter her house because her neighbor has constructed a fence on the property, saying that the property is the neighbor's property. So for the past 3 days, she has not been able to enter the house. And he got an injunction order from the court saying that the fence should not be demolished. But I went there, I saw this pathetic plight of the lady, and I demolished the fence. And the neighbor, the person, the owner of the land, videographed everything and produced before the court. Ultimately, I had to go to the High Court, and then it's a private case, government will not support you. You are disobeying law. So I had to employ a private advocate, spend money from my pocket, and convince the court that this is the thing that has happened. And then I apologized to the court also, saying that I'm so sorry, I'll find another means for the lady to enter her house. So all that sort of thing, your personal problems will come. It has come quite a few times in my life and my career. But irrespective of all that, I always sleep in the night with a lot of calmness, and I always feel happy that I have done whatever that was that didn't hurt my conscience. So that rubbing will be there, that problems will be there. It's even I have received a lot of memos from my senior officer, from government also, for violating law several times. But I am happy that I have done whatever I can to serve the public, irrespective of the written down laws.
So you spoke about dilemmas, and from dilemmas, I would switch to conflicts. So conflicts within the organization. So it might happen at times, particularly in organizations such as the uniformed services, which are deemed to be very hierarchical, where obedience is considered to be a virtue one should have. There are conflicts, there are value conflicts that you might have with your superiors, value conflict that you might have with political leaders. So it's almost like there are different layers of values. So there are political values, or the values of the government in power. There are normative values of the organization, and then there are your personal values. And sometimes they might not match. So when there are these kinds of conflicts, more so within the organization, and you have to continue working with these people for a long time, so there can't be a direct confrontation. So how are those kinds of conflicts dealt with?
Yeah, it's again another conflicts also were very common, occasional events in my professional life, because I could not tolerate too much of political interference in whatever I did as a police officer. Also in my public service and public sector undertakings, PSUs, where I worked as MD, there also political interferences to certain effect was intolerable. Two instances I'd like to share with you. First was when I was SP of a district, there was a huge case which was detected, and I found that about 11 police officers were taking bribe from a very rich industrialist, to see that an injustice is happening in to see that they were taking huge bribes and promoting sale of illicit liquor in the district. So when that fact was discovered, I suspended whoever officer who I could suspend from service, but the government, the DYSPs and above had to be suspended by the government and by the DGP. So I wrote a report to the DGP and to the government, and for 3 or 4 months there was no action by the government or by the DGP. I had to keep on working with these officers, and these officers knew that I had sent a report. Officers knew that I detected the offence, and they are under threat of suspension, and I have sent a report. So they were extremely arrogant towards me. They were extremely rude to me. It was very uncomfortable working as SP of a district with these officers who were corrupt and who were defying this because of their political hold. And because they had political hold and money to back them, they were continuing in the same post. And I was not being obeyed as a senior officer. That was the biggest conflict I ever had. And in addition to that, then there was a personal thing also. There was an effort. My son was about to be kidnapped from the school that time. He was studying in the first standard. Somebody went and tried to kidnap my son, and it was only by his intelligence that he escaped. because my husband has a beard. And my son always asks my husband, why are you not in the police? Why are you a doctor? So my husband would joke to him saying that because of my beard, because of the beard, nobody will take me to the police. And in that 5-year-old state also, he knew that a policeman cannot spot a beard. The person who came to kidnap him from the school told the class teacher that I'm a policeman and the mother is in the hospital. He had to be brought. So Gokul will have to be sent with me. And the teacher instructed Gokul to go with that, my son to go with that man. And he took the bag, he looked at that person's face and said, this uncle is not police because he's having a beard. So the teacher got suspicious and called me, and this man ran away. So that attempt was there to kidnap my son, and then my husband was going in bus to Medical College Hospital in the neighboring district. So there was an attempt to hack my husband. Some people gundas were paid to hack him while he was traveling in the bus. So all sorts of physical, psychological traumas I had to undergo because of this. It was a conflict of a major nature. It's a very high conflict. But only way that I could make this public was to go to the media. So the public, I went to a friend who was in the media, and I told the person that this is happening. And the report which I have sent to the government is now being kept in the cold storage for 3 months now. Now we will have to bring it to the open. I gave a copy of the report also to the person, and he published it in the newspaper the next day, and it became a wildfire. And then suddenly all these 11 officers got suspended and relief was there. So you will have to think about it, what you have to do, clearly in that manner. The second thing is that when I was in a PSU, I was making a lot of it was a sinking organization. Rubber Marketing Federation was making a huge loss. It was a ship almost sunken to the depths of the ocean. And it took a lot of effort on my part. I did future trading of rubber. I stopped all the domestic sales, and I started exporting rubber. I was talking to the Thailand rubber industries, and I was talking to all the tire companies and the shoe companies in India turned against me, but I was promoting the rubber farmers. I was buying in bulk, and the future trade of rubber was not there before I went as MD. So I started the future trade, and I made rupees 2 crore profit per month. And I rescued this ship, physically I had to put this Titanic out from the bottom of the sea, and I brought it up. And then what I was seeing is that it's a political group, which is the board of directors is by politicians. So suddenly one day when I was not there, somebody was holding my charge. I was somewhere holding my charge. They took a decision without me, saying that they're going to start a rubber park. And a huge area of land was purchased. The board of directors met and decided that a huge area of land was purchased. With all the profit that I made for an atrocious amount for starting a rubber park. So when I came back, I was aghast with this thing, and I found out that there is a hanky-panky. This politician's relative wanted to sell a land which cannot be filled up because of some restrictions. It was a field, it cannot be filled up. So he wanted to see that this land is sold to the government sector. Oh my God, it was so horrible. So what can you do? And this particular chairman of the organization has been very sweet to me. So I didn't want to go against him. So I went and told the chief minister that I want out of this place, because it's going to be some vigilance inquiry is going to come. Something is going to happen, and I don't want to be part of that. And I got a transfer to some other department. So you can get out of that also. Previously I used to feel like strangling the people who are corrupt, but now I know that God will catch up, natural justice will catch up with them. So I find solace in that.
I'm going to ask you maybe a little more provocative question here, Sreelekha. If you were given a chance, looking at all these, and they are really inspiring stories, they are really they demonstrate the strength that you have displayed. But looking at all the pluses and minuses, if you were given a chance once again to maybe look at your career, would you join public service? Would you join civil service again? Is it worth all the traumas that you have gone through, worth all the hassles that you have gone through at personal front, family front, and otherwise too? What would be your thoughts on that?
Definitely, definitely, sure, 100%. I have no regrets joining civil services. I have no regrets joining IPS. I have absolutely enjoyed each and every moment of that. The challenges have made me who I am today. These conflicts have made me who I am today. I keep telling everybody that whenever there is a pain, whenever there is a conflict, whenever there is a rubbing on the wrong way, these are all steps to bring out that inner gem within you. You know, a stone, only if it is rubbed and rubbed and rubbed and polished and polished and polished to its minute level, will the stone, the precious gem inside, comes out and shines forth. So this is what I have been going through, and everybody goes through that. You know, which is the area where there is no challenges, which is the area where there are not conflicts. In life itself is full of conflicts. In all profession, there will be challenges. But how you face them, how you deal with them, and how you see them, it can make you or break you. So you can easily break, and you can easily say that, yeah, I don't want that, I opt for a better thing. But there are no better things, there are only worse things. So this is what I had gone through, was life, was my profession. And if you ask me whether I'll go back again at this particular age to public service again, to government service again, then I'd say rather not, because now is the time for me to relax and then think about all that. And then if somebody gives me a life again, if I'm 26 again or 25 again, then yes, I'll definitely choose civil service, I'll definitely choose IPS, and I'll easily and happily have all these traumas. But probably I would have handled them in a much better way, because the way I handled most of them had its difficulties, had its problems, tensions, traumas, and I had sicknesses. I had some family had to suffer a little bit, and a lot of tension unnecessarily I had embraced. Probably better handling of the situations I could have done with a better forethought and all that. I don't know, but all depends. But definitely I would have chosen this again.
There are many officers in my interactions with civil servants, there are also many officers who end up on the losing side. So the stories did not have happy endings. There are political pressures, there are societal pressures, there are who had to undergo a lot of personal traumas, and the ending was not happy. So how would you, is there anything you would want to say on that? Because there are many people who suffer when you have, this is a little different from a private sector job, because you have very different performance measures in these organizations. They are not meritocratic, as we know. A lot of times they are not meritocratic. So so there are people who have struggled, who are fighting court cases year after year for maybe things that they have not committed. They were maligned in different ways. So yeah, how does one reconcile this kind of a problem?
Yeah, Professor Vishal, that is correct. I also have some batchmates who have committed suicides, who have shot themselves. Some officers had premature deaths. Some are having divorces and leading miserable life. It's not always pleasant for everybody, because public services, especially the central government services like IAS and IPS, they are different in the sense that it's the temptations to succumb. The people will be offering you a lot of gifts. Like Diwali, let Diwali come, and then you don't ask for that. You just wear your uniform and sit in your office, and you will be bombarded with gifts. You just be in a New Year or in a Christmas function, your house will be full of cakes. It will be filled with flowers. Your promotion as DGP, it's unbelievable. People will be sending you all sorts of gifts. And a male officer, you can get into bad habits like drinking and smoking. If you have these habits of drinking, then and not spending money for the drinks that you are consuming, and depend on others to spend the money for that, and then for other benefits also, if you are used to a luxurious lifestyle and you feel that your monthly salary is not enough. Many of the officers may not be as fortunate as I am. I have a earning husband. My husband is a doctor. He also earns a lot of money. So our combined salary is more than enough for us. We don't have any problem with money. So, but some officers, they are not like that. They'll be marrying from rich families or beautiful girls, and they won't be having a monthly income. Only the husband's income will be there. And their lifestyle will not be sufficient enough to, for that monthly salary. They can't break even. So this officer will be turning to his friends or this industrialists or some politicians, or that is why all these bad habits are cultivated. And it's so easy. You just have to sit in the office for people to come to you with money. Even when you do an admission, say a friend or a relative comes and says that, can you get this admission for my child in LKG or UKG, can you get a professional college admission for somebody, and then you do it out of your sincerity and your liking for this family member. But after doing it, they'll be coming you with some money, 1 crore rupees and all that, because unbelievable. So several instances I have had a fight with my relative, I had to send them away. So such lifestyle habits and such family relationships can be a little problematic for some officers. That is why I have stressed in the beginning that your spirituality, it matters. If you are spiritually oriented, if you do a little bit of introspection, if you connect with that source, that God or whatever it is that you call, and you do some sort of a prayer or a meditation or some sort of a something that I know also of very religious people who are very corrupt. They go to Guruvayur every day with a part of tithe, 1/10 of what they accept as corruption money, they go to Guruvayur and put it in the hundi, temple hundi. That sort of attitude is also there, thinking that the God likes their bribe, to collect a part of their bribe. But genuinely, you will have to do a little bit of introspection, find out you connect with your inner being, your inner source, and do a lot of talking, and a little bit of spiritual attitude will go a long way in helping you tide over all these problems. You can, whenever I say that life is a big path, it's a national highway, but there are certain small bylanes which are tempting to you. Dark alleys are there. There may be some people standing there with a lot of temptations. Go inside, okay, you find out what it is there, but try to come back. That is, you don't forget your path, you come back. The main path will be full of hurdles. You may fall down, you may bleed, some nails will be there. It won't be a bed of roses, but still you come back to the main path, because that is your path. That is the way where you can go to your ultimate end peacefully. You don't get trapped in those bylanes. So the bylanes will be there with temptations galore for all of us.
So, Sreelekha, you alluded to corruption in a few responses, in a few answers, and also about how it is it is not only rampant, but also probably normative. It is considered to be the norm in certain organizations. So, in addition to personal values and the conscience that a person may have to overcome the urge to be corrupt, the only other solution that we normally have in front of us is regulation or penalties. Is there any other way, considering that this is so prevalent and this is almost considered to be like the normal way one should be? Like you said, the chief minister who said that they would be supporting a corrupt officer. So if that is the attitude that people are taking, where being corrupt is the normal way one should be, then what is the way to solve this problem? Imagining that personal values is something we can't control, then organizationally, what can we possibly do?
Yeah, there have been very good CMs. The chief minister, only one chief minister I have heard a long time back. I heard him speak in an open meeting like this. But there are a lot of good politicians also. I want to stress that. Like there are a lot of very good public servants also. I have been in CBI, I have worked in Vigilance and Anti-Corruption Bureau. In fact, over the 33.5 years of service which I had in the police department, 1/3 was spent in the anti-corruption bureaus, in vigilance and anti-corruption bureaus, including CBI, more than 9.5 years. So I would say that only 20% or 25% of the people are corrupt. Whatever sector they are in, political level or in public service or in private service, only 20-25% are corrupt. All the others are generally good people. So there is, I believe in the innate goodness of the people. The public also, only 25% of the people, they promote corruption. They will be willing to give money, others will be resisting. So the 75% of the people or 70% of the people will be against corruption. So that goodness, if it is there and if it is loud enough, then we can combat it. Like Me Too campaign, we can have a against corruption hashtag campaign or whatever it is. So the public will have to come out in a much, because they don't understand their strength. They'll have to come out in a much more stronger way to fight against corruption and point out that yes, this is wrong. What you're doing is wrong. It is corrupt. It is the public money that is being pilfered. So where does the money come from? Where does the government money come from for the government? It's all from the public. No, it's a shared money that public gives as taxes or whatever that the government uses for the public benefit. And from there, if some people are taking out a bit of it to their pocket, to their personal pocket, then the people should resist that. The people may not be knowing all the time, but whenever they come to know that, they cannot say that, oh, it happens. They just cannot say that. You cannot, like Arun said previously, you cannot say that it is the system. It happens. Even the CM thinks like that. So why should we bother? That sort of an attitude is a very negative attitude. So you will have to, the public will have to come out. The public will have to support the non-corrupt officers. Public will have to see that action is taken. The courts are there to provide relief. So resort to the legal measures to wherever it is available, the CBI, vigilance or agencies which are there to fight corruption. So many NGOs are there to fight corruption. So go to them and then open up and have an open discourse. The public support should be strong. So people have to realize their strength in this.
Has the public sector changed over time? You've seen, you've had 30 odd years of experience. Have you seen the public services evolving, changing over time, and have they evolved for better or for worse in your experience?
I would say that they have changed in their appearance. It's a facade. You know, the whitewashing sort of a thing. They have changed in their appearance, like technology has come in, then their uniform has changed, their offices building have changed, then they are supposed to be delivering fast through email complaints are entertained, and all sort of things. Technology has changed. So, but what is the intrinsic quality which are there in the service, you know, it has not changed. And I don't think it will change also, because that status quo people like to maintain. It's a status quo is sort of as long as, especially police and administration also, it is all being controlled by the government, and the government is it's a group of politicians. So that political head is controlling and dictating over the public services. The public services apparently, in namesake, they will be making a lot of changes in technology. Also, their in appearances and buildings are changed. Arms and armaments have changed. Newer and newer. Helicopter are coming in place of other things. So many changes are coming, but it is only all are apparent. Internal intrinsic values of service, they are still remaining the same. Still, the rich and the influential and the moneyed people and the politically influential people are getting the benefits out of public service. The poor people, those who don't have anybody to talk for them, they are being ignored. They are not being taken care of, and they are being sidelined. Even look at the jails. How many of the corrupt people are there in the jails? Only those people who cannot afford a decent advocate are languishing in the jails. So you don't find any industrialist or rich businessman or any politician who has been corrupt who are there in the jails. You don't see them. So what has changed?
So if let's assume the organizations or the government organizations in the public sector is becoming very rigid, but do you also see, because you were witness to a lot of changes and even in the helm of affairs when Kerala police itself was going through initiatives like community policing, Jan Maitri, and so on, involving, a public-private partnership and involving the community in policing. So could that be a potential solution where more external stakeholders are involved in the way public service is being offered or delivered to citizens?
Actually, yes. Even before this technology came in, the Friends of Police was sort of a public-private partnership. In fact, Janamaitri Police, which has come, the seeds of that has been planted by me when I was DIG in Ernakulam range in 2004 and 2004, 2005. I had started this public-police interaction, the PPP project of police and public. I called it PRIDE, the police residents interaction in the district of Ernakulam. And the residents association people and the police will be sitting together. Every Saturday we used to meet in the AR camp, and then we will be discussing what are the things that we can implement to improve the public safety, how to improve. We recruited people from the residents association itself to take night patrols, then how to prevent all the people who are then outside employees who are there, how to identify them, to give them identity cards, then have a digital record of all the known pedophiles and thieves, and then circulate it among the residents association. All sorts of things. We took decisions based on their ideas. So that PPP model was there even before technology and digitization started. But with this cyber dome and all coming up and asking for the technologically oriented people to help police in detecting crime, it is going a long way. The cyber forensic is come to stay, and everything is cyber related now. Now even public service will be done on blockchains. Blockchain activities are being collected now, and that is public service is also going to be done through that blockchains and all that. So in that particular scenario, then this is going to do a lot of things, provided that the service orientation should be there. The mind will have to be there to serve. First and foremost, it is not to get a project inaugurated and to get a hype out of that, to project it through the Facebook or through the Twitter and then say get a 1 million likes or 50 million likes for that, or for people to see this gizmo being, the robotics being projected and all that. But it is the entire thing should be service oriented. Like when I was ADGP SCRB, I started the first interactive website for police and public named Tuna. Tuna is the first letters of the hand you need for assistance. And I named it Tuna. Tuna is a Malayalam word for help, assistance. So that was inaugurated by the then CM. But after I left that SCRB, 3 times it has been renovated and inaugurated. But even now, the people are not getting copies of FIR through Tuna. They cannot file a request for a police verification through Tuna. They cannot get any sort of complaint registered through Tuna. So what is the purpose? You have a software, you have all these things, but the basic intrinsic service cannot be delivered. Means it is ineffective. It is only there in, that facade is there. That is what I said. So whenever you introduce something new, technologically oriented thing like cyber dome and cyber forensic and all that, it should be able to just go through the statistics and find out how many cases were detected, how many phones were recovered, how many thefts were recovered because of that. Then that will make an effect. Then you know that yes, it has worked. So you will have to review it, and you will have to keep on refreshing the data. You will have to keep on adding more and more things to that. Technology is changing every day, so you will have to keep on adding new technological procedures to that and practices to that to see that the public service, that service idea is foremost in each and every one of them.
So I'm just surmising here, but when we talk about rigidity of organizations, and particularly in the public sector, could one of the reasons for this resistance to change be also the way incentives are given and the very predetermined salary structures and so on? Because even if somebody is a good performer, or if somebody is showing potential for offering better service or delivering better service, that person can't be given any higher or better incentives for delivering better service. So do you think that could be one of the reasons why there is so much rigidity when compared to private sectors which are more open to transformation?
No, Arun, it is not, because the rigidity in salary structure is something which is known. When they choose the service, they know that it is, this is, conditions are rigid, money is rigid, salary is rigid, there is not much change. But people who do exemplary work are encouraged and valued. Like in police department and in other departments also, we have a lot of reward systems. Like you get rewards, you get the good service entries, you get good postings, you can, people who do good work can be posted in their home district, or they can be transferred to a much more better place. If you are a specialist in, specialization posts are there, like you are good in the computer, then you can be posted in the computer cell. If you are good in public relations, then you can be posted in the petition cell. So all sorts of things. If you are good in drafting, then you can be put in the administration. So that is something that you are giving them a sort of reward. And then there is a CM's medal is there, the president's medal is there, then there are so many other rewards. And police department is having something called the Secret Service Fund. The Secret Service Fund runs to crores of rupees every year, and it is not audited. And it comes every year as a budgetary provision, and DGP can spend it as he likes, and it cannot be audited. So that money can go as reward to, so it does also for collection of intelligence. The officers who collect intelligence, they are rewarded with that money. The public is rewarded with that money for a good supply of intelligence. So that is not a problem at all. If you value sincerity, and if you are rewarded, the sincerity is rewarded properly, and then you acknowledge it. Even a pat on the shoulder, like I said, if you pat on the shoulder and say that is good work, that itself is reward enough. So that sort of a thing is there, and if you do more and more of that, then this money, salary and all that, it won't be that important.
We are getting some questions, and let me take some questions now, Sreelekha. So one of the questions, and I'll try to combine a few here, is there are expectations from women employees at work which are quite different from males a lot of times, and especially in male-dominated professions, and your profession was one of your service was one of those times. So there are expectations that are different between males and females. How does one deal with those differences in expectations? You did mention there are also one person, Geetanjali, is talking about even in trainings, you may not have facilities that are available to males but are not available to females. So the work conditions, the expectations are different. How does one tide over these and still be successful and come out doing better?
Yeah, this is absolutely correct. In fact, the main problem that lady officers find in such situations is the toilet facilities. They don't have the training institutions nor organizations like the police. They never had a women-friendly toilet. It must have been shocking to all of you. But at that particular time, only the toilet that could be used by male officers were there. So women, when you say that you want to go to the toilet from a conference, you walk from the conference hall and go to the toilet, then you find all those things which are there which a woman cannot use. So you get shocked. You said that how can we go in that? This is one thing which I have found. And also when you are on a law and order duty, suddenly if for certain women the menstruation does not come in time, it can be premature, or especially in a tension filled situation, and suddenly you will have to find a pad, then very problematic, especially when you are wearing a uniform. It's horrible, it's a nightmare. So you will have to either excuse yourself and leave the place, or you will be faced with some action on all that. So for a senior level officer, it is not that much of a problem, but for a subordinate officer like a women police constable, they always face such problems when they are posted in law and order situations, or when they are in VIP duties. The presidents and the prime ministers and the VIPs will take their own sweet time in coming, and from morning onwards they will be asked to stand, and then they won't be able to use their to go anywhere, because you are not supposed to move from that place. In training institutions also, this used to be a problem before, but now it has changed over the course of time. It has changed. Now everywhere it is gender friendly. Even police stations have become gender friendly. Most of the police stations, there are women restrooms and women toilets and change rooms also. When we were undergoing training in the National Police Academy, from the drill, we wear white and white from 5 o'clock to 6:30. We have to wear white and white and do drill. And then there is a 10-minute gap in a particular hall. You will have to change into the uniform, the khaki uniform, and then your pant and everything is tasked and all that. And there is no, there is no separation for women and for men. It is all the same hall. So I used to be shocked in the beginning. How can we do that? And then we will be finding some sort of a recess or something to go in and change suddenly, because at the ring of the bell, we will have to be present in the parade ground wearing that khaki uniform. But then nobody will be looking at you. When you change, boys will also be hurrying with changing, and you will also be hurrying. So nobody has time to look. In the swimming pool also, there is no separate time for women and for men. You don't have to jump in together and do the swimming. And when you go for horse riding, especially during periods, you can stay back, but everybody will know that you are staying back, you are standing out because you have periods. So everybody will know that that particular lady. So that sort of things were there. But you opt for such a job, knowing all these problems will be there and willing to face that, and all that will make you stronger in one way or the other. And after some time, it doesn't affect you much. You wearing your swimming dress and jumping into the pool and all that, everybody is watching, so you don't have any option. You can't afford to be shy. And most of the cases, we keep thinking that it is not the feminine beauty or the feminine demeanor that is important. It is our police thing that is important. When we wear uniform also, we try to see that you don't use any makeup, you don't wear any jewelry, you don't put on a bindi. So it should be awesome. When you awe-inspiring, and nobody should look at you a second time because you're beautiful or because you're pretty. In uniform, you should always look awe-inspiring. So that is the attitude that we always take, and we don't allow even women officers to put on jewelry when you are in uniform. Anyway, in other services, it may be slightly better and different, but in police, it is quite terrible that how these things happen. But we manage. Most of us try to survive. And whenever a woman officer comes with a problem, I always tell them that I am there to help you. I have always been a mentor for the past several years for all the lady officers, giving them proper advices, giving them proper assistance, and fighting for them, fighting their cases, and seeing that they get transferred to the place of where the husband is posted. So all these things I have been doing throughout. So if a lady officer senior enough to take care of the junior ladies' problems are there, then that will go a long way in helping them. It will also help in preventing sexual harassment at workplaces, because sexual harassment at workplaces for women is quite terrible. Although the act is there, in several instances I've seen that the act has not been very effective if there is no senior lady officer to take care of the problems. So having a lady officer to mentor the junior officers' lady officers' problems will go a long way in helping to de-stress them and to ease out their problems.
There's one more question. This is from Lakshmi. She asked, how do you talked about the support that you've had from your family and your husband who stood with you. So Lakshmi says, how do you deal with a situation when the family is toxic and when it is not supportive? For girls, especially in their 20s, how do you be mentally strong in such situations?
Leave the family. The only way out is to leave. No, not permanently, but at least temporarily stay away from the family. You cannot stay in a toxic situation in your private life and work in a sincere manner. It's not possible. A person who is a husband who is not understanding, or an in-law who is torturing you, or if your family is having certain problems with you and insist that you come home early and you don't do this, you don't wear this sort of dress, you don't wear that sort of dress, you don't interact with that person, you don't talk to somebody over phone, you don't look at your mobile phone or your computer after such and such a time. If such a condition is there, then that is definitely toxic and it is going to affect you. One thing is that you can give in and say that, okay, I won't do that, I value you, I love you, I value all that, and give in. But nobody will respect that. Your husband will not respect you for giving in. You will have to, from the beginning itself, you will have to say that I won't tolerate this nonsense from you. I am a working woman, I am an earning member, I am an independent person. I don't want you to dictate terms to me like this. And I will do whatever I can in my personal capacity. If I can't do that, then you will have to find some other option. And then walk out and leave the place. Live with your own parents, or live in your quarters, or live in some rented building, or share with somebody else, but walk out of that place. But most of the women will not do that because they value their personal relationships a lot. So, and also the societal stigma becomes very important for them, especially if there are children. They'll feel that, oh, what will this person say? What will that person say? What will the society say? What will happen if my daughter grows up and she comes to a marriageable age? Who will marry her? All sorts of nonsensical doubts will trouble you. All sorts of thoughts will be there to torment you. But don't think of anything. Don't think of the society. Society is not going to support you. Don't think of the future. The future will be there when it comes. It is not there now. So your now is important. You have to find peace in your now. You leave that place. If you want to go with the children, go with the children. And take the children. Don't listen to nonsense. You don't take shit lying down. That is what I keep on saying. That you show from the beginning itself that you mean business. And you are not going to take it lying down. And then you walk out. You go out of that place temporarily. Try to settle it through other sources, and if it doesn't work, then move out permanently. This is my advice to all of you, because it's not worth it. You cannot have your legs on both the boards and find balance. It is very, very difficult and dicey. But many husbands will understand. With proper counseling and proper involvement of other people, I have also settled a lot of issues. I have settled a lot of family problems. You will have to find time for that. So somebody's external help is needed in such situations, and you will have to find an apt person to help you.
So there's one question from Professor TV Rao. He says, and please feel free to not respond to this question. It's a little political question. In your view, has the control of political system over services to fix opposition parties increased or decreased over the years of your service?
Yeah. It is always there. It will always be there. So it doesn't decrease or it won't increase, or it's there, but it is in a very subtle way it happens. It has not affected me in any way. I refuse to get involved in all that. I simply refuse. So I don't know. I cannot say. I simply refuse to get involved in political things. There is a political superintendence over the police department. They dictate terms to you, but whenever it is uncomfortable, you can say that sorry, no, and move out. Even in vigilance and in CBI, I have not listened to political diktats. When it hurts my conscience, I will say that you find somebody else to do this. I can't do this. And politicians, they do understand. You cultivate a sort of a name in the first 10 years of your career. They know who you are, and beyond a particular thing, they don't tell you. They just transfer you out and put somebody who will listen to them as the person who will do that. So it doesn't affect me. It has not affected me in any way. Throughout my career, I have refused to be affected. I refuse to listen to them.
One more. Yeah.
I have a question, Vishal. If you
yes, please. Right.
Thanks for coming to the center. We would like to have obviously lady leaders, and that too in police, doing such great work as an example to the whole nation. So, having heard you, I am really inspired that you can be something different in a different system. Now, you told about one particular percentage, which was really kind of, I would say, surprised if you ask a general public. You said only 20 to 25% of police officers are corrupt. If you ask a person on the road, the answer will be exactly opposite. I'm sure you know this. Now, and what you are saying is a fact because you have lived it. So I have two questions. One is, a person who is compassionate, who is non-corrupt, and who is lady is diametrically opposite to the culture as we see it in the police. In that kind of culture, there is a pressure enough by the system for you to make change happen. So was it there in some form, and how did you resist it? And larger question is, I think people have lost a faith in police because of all these things that we hear, which are unfortunately all negative, about integrity, about compassion, and everything else. How do we change this perception of police so that society and police can live together as one community? You know, I don't know whether you have heard of Japan. In Japan, a policeman is considered as a friend and a family member, and I have witnessed it myself. That's one extreme, and which someday we can have that. But even in other countries, it is much more. You know, today people don't want to go to police. Let's be very honest. They would like to avoid going to public. The nation can't live like that. And what do we need to do to change it? I don't know. You are on the other side, so would like to ask. Two questions that way. One is the question, other is
Yes, sir. So I would again reiterate that only 25% of the people everywhere are corrupt because there's a study which has been done by me. I was also a member of that panel when I was in vigilance, and also later on I went from vigilance to CBI. There also we did a study of all the cases and the complaints which has come to the government and various forums against various government officers in public sector. And then we found out that altogether we also in CBI we form a sort of agreed list. We say the organization head and the CBI officers, we sit together and then we discuss who are the officers who are corrupt and who are the officers who are not corrupt. And then we take a list of that, and then there is a criminal misdeed and also a departmental misdeed also. Somebody who is making some departmental irregularity will be categorized as a person who requires a departmental action. Criminal misdeed, we will categorize it as a person who requires a criminal handling. So that sort of study has been conducted, and we found out that less than 25% in every organization only are corrupt. And most of the people are good people. Similarly, not just corruption, sir. They're not money, but rudeness, cruelty, misbehavior to the public, person who was intrinsically bad, who shouts at people, at the police station level, people who do not help, people who harass, who resort to third degree methods in police stations, they are also only less than 25%. But somehow or other, sir, these 25%, they come to the limelight, maligning the other 75% also, so that the entire department becomes bad. And police being such a visible department, visible in the sense their presence is felt and seen and perceptible. So it is tangible, it is palpable, so that people see them. Traffic police are seen outside. Police station is there for the people, they go. Police is there when there is a problem in the neighborhood, police come there. So arrest somebody, police come there. When there is a ruckus, they come. When there is an affray, they come. So police is it's a presence which is felt, and so people have a perception that okay, all of them are bad. So that's sort of a third degree when it comes to light. Then they think that all police stations third degree is happening left, right, and center, which is not true. It is not true at all. So that is something which I have to say from being a police officer within the department. I can say that only 25% of the people are bad, corrupt, and they are horribly cruel. But all the 75%, it's because of those 75% that the police department is still functioning. And the sad thing is that those who deserve to be punished, most of the time they don't get punished properly in the correct way because of their political hold, political influences. They may influence the association, they may influence politicians, they may give bribe, and then they'll come out of that and they'll come back to the department, which is a bad thing. We'll have to weed out these corrupt people, the bad people, and throw them out of the department, which somehow the system has failed. So that is a problem which is even now happening. How the public can work in cooperation with the police, like in Japan. The Japanese example is amazing. It is wonderful. I also heard about that. They say that the London Bobby is also like that, but no. I have had a exposure to London Metropolitan Police, and I have seen that the cruelty happening in London police stations is even worse than that in India. So it is that is only a namesake sort of a thing. The London Bobby is working like that and all. It doesn't. In America, the police are very cruel. You have seen this George Floyd case. So everywhere it is very cruel. But Japan, if it is working like that, then it is wonderful, amazing. The thing is that people must be aware in Japan. Like unlike in India, we are still following that colonial rule, the colonial acts, the colonial culture. Whatever the British people have left us, that law is remaining the same. The Indian Constitution has hardly changed. Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code, the Evidence Act, and all the major acts, they all have their germs in the British acts. And even the present governance is also based on the British governance, British system of governing. So everything that we are doing is the British system. Even the police station functioning is based on British system. Police Act, the Indian Police Act is based on the British Police Act. So it has not changed. The parades have not changed. The uniforms have not changed. The use of arms and armaments, the mob control system, it is all the British control system. So what the British people were using to suppress Indians and the freedom movement, now the police department is using against the common public. And the common public, they do not realize that, they do not express themselves, they do not raise their voice against that, they are happy with that and they are scared. You yourself said that they are not happy to go to the police station. Why shouldn't they go to the police station? They should go. Make it a mandatory thing to visit the police station every day, even without any reason. Just go to the police station like you go to a shopping spree. Go to the police station, just walk around, see what is happening. Why are you scared? Talk to the policeman. You talk to them. If policemen ask you for money, if they say that you have violated this penalty, COVID protocol, you have violated the COVID protocol, you are not wearing mask properly, you give me 2,000 rupees. Why should the people pay 2,000 rupees? They ask questions. Why don't you ask questions to the policeman and say under what law, under what rule? Why are you beating up? If you are standing in a queue and you are beaten up for not following a social distancing sort of a thing, then you resist and catch hold of that lathi and say that why are you beating, under what law are you beating? Why can't the public ask that to the policeman? So the public is happy with the police as it is. They are demanding that, okay, you beat us, okay, you terrorize us, okay, you traumatize us. We are happy with whatever you are. If the public continues to keep this sort of an attitude, then the police is not going to change. Let the public raise their voice. Let them say that, no, we won't tolerate you like this. We want you to change. We want you to be friendly. We want to work with you. You show that you can be good and decent and gentle and kind to us. Do that, and then the police will change.
Thanks. Just a rejoinder to that, I am aware of your hands, how they get tied as a police officer due to various other constraints. There is a Supreme Court judgment on police reforms. It's very unfortunate that it has not been implemented. Government after government. Why does police department stand up and say it's implemented? I don't know.
It won't be implemented. It can't be implemented because the police is controlled by the politicians. Unless and until it is made independent, it won't be implemented.
Okay. Sorry. Thanks. Thanks for your very inspirational lecture. I wish people are listening and taking you from what you have done in life. You are a real example.
But sir, we can make a difference, sir. We should not be dejected. We should not be dejected. We should not end in a negative note.
I agree.
We have to be positive. We have to try to make the difference.
I agree. Thanks.
Actually, I would say I personally have had many positive interactions with police people, and so I would say that I believe that things are changing for good. So let's hope things do change and change for good. And so, yeah, Arun, over to you.
So this has been very, very engaging. Thank you for agreeing to talk to us. So that is the first thing I must say, and we really, really appreciate the time you've spent with us. And something I noticed is the amount of honesty and frankness with which you spoke and with which you answered our questions was commendable. So and I think that is what also makes talks like this very engaging, and also make us think after this talk about the things that you said. We were very happy to host you, and because of the situation, this had to be done virtually. But I really hope that there'll be a time when you can visit us on campus, and we could organize another meeting or a talk, and then more members of the campus community can benefit from your thoughts and opinions. So thank you very much, and we're going to wind up now. And also thanks to all the participants who have been with us throughout the duration of this program.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you. And it has been really a very, very inspiring and a positive session, something on which we can all be hopeful about that things will improve and things will be better. So thank you once again from the Ashank Desai Centre for coming and talking to us, and thank you everybody for joining. Stay tuned and keep watching our website for more such conversations. Thank you very much.